Happy holidays, Tigers. We've almost made it to the end. This is our last time we'll meet this 2020 year. Next time I will see you, it'll be the year 2021, and I am super excited that good things will come in 2021. I'm excited about some of the things that hopefully will be new and different, and some things that will be the same. Every new year, I always make new goals for myself, mostly health related, some of them work related and family related, but I always feel like it's a good time to start over, especially this year. I'm hoping to get this year over with and starting a new one, and still continuing with our same kind of traditions, which leads me to our story today. Now, the past couple of times we have met, you have heard about different holidays around the world and different traditions that people and different cultures and different religions, different traditions that they have and things that they do. Not everybody celebrates Christmas. As you've seen, there's some people that celebrate Hanukkah. Some people celebrate Las Posadas. Some people celebrate St. Lucia Day. The list goes on and on. So what we're talking about today a little bit is traditions. That a tradition is something that a culture, a religion, or even a family, things that you do generation after generation. Like maybe it's something that your mother does, and maybe it's something that your grandparents did and then their grandparents, or it's something in your culture that they do year after year after year from generation to generation. That's what a tradition is. And the holidays always makes me think about traditions and how people celebrate. So I wanted to give you a little bit of an idea how people around the world celebrate different holidays. But this time I'm going to come back a little bit more close to home and talk about some of the traditions that I have in my home. When I was a little girl, I can remember it was a tradition in my family to go to my grandma's house on Christmas Eve. And it was something that we all loved because we knew that we would be baking cookies for Santa Claus, and she would read us a story, and we would get to open up one gift before we went back home. But it was I just remember it being so much fun because she would let us kids decorate the cookies any way we wanted to. And of course, we thought they were absolutely beautiful. I'm sure at this point I'm sure they were a mess, but that was the fun part of it. And I can remember that she would turn the lights down and have a fire in the fireplace, and she would read us a story. And it's actually a poem, which I'm going to share with you today because I want to carry on that tradition. So I have one son. He's older now. He's in high school. But when he was little, I did the same thing with him. That's what a tradition does. So even to this day, we still make cookies on Christmas Eve, and I let him decorate them. We make cookies for Santa, and he gets to decorate them. There's usually tons of icing, however he wants to make them. And when he was little, I would read the same story that my grandma would read to me. And even though he's grown up now, we would also we get to open up one present. We still do that. One thing that I don't do anymore is read him the story. So in order to keep the tradition, I read the story to all my students as our last story of the holiday season. It's actually it's not a story, it is a poem. And the poem was written, it actually showed up for the first time in a newspaper on December 23rd in the year 1823. That was 197 years ago. The poem was printed in a newspaper in New York called the Troy Sentinel, and they didn't know, it was anonymous, so they didn't know who wrote it at the time. And it showed up in this newspaper again. It was 197 years ago this poem was printed. And it is talks about how about St. Nicholas or Santa Claus, and how he is arriving and coming to visit someone's home on Christmas Eve. So I'm sure that you've probably, if you haven't heard the story here, it is a poem called "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." This story is illustrated by Jan Brett. She obviously did not write the story, but she illustrated the story. Now, it was a few years later they found out that the author's name was, let's see, it's right in here, Clement Moore. About 2 years after it showed up in the newspaper, Clement Moore published a book of poems, and it was in his book. So they found out 2 or 3 years later that the author of the poem was Clement Moore. So here is the almost 200-year-old poem that my grandma read to me when I was a little girl, and I read to my son when he was a little boy, and I like to read to my students as our last story of the year for the holiday season. It's called "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." "'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And I in my kerchief and Ma in her cap had just settled down for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprung from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash to open the shutters, and I threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow had given a luster of midday to the objects below. When what to my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. With a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be St. Nick. More rapid than eagles, his coursers they flew. They came, and he whistled, and he shouted, and he called them all by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner and Blitzen. Who did he not call out? Yes, the story is that old that Rudolph was not even born yet. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all. As dry leaves that before the wild hurricanes fly, when they meet with an obstacle, they mount to the sky. So up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with a sleigh full of toys, and St. Nicholas too. And then in a twinkling I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. I drew in my head and was turning around, and down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed in all fur from his head to his foot, and he was covered and tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back. He looked like a peddler just opening his sack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard on his chin was as white as the snow. There he is eating his Christmas cookie. A stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke it encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly, and it shook when he laughed, like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink of an eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work. He filled all the stockings and turned with a jerk. And laying a finger aside of his nose, he gave me a nod, and up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh and gave his team a whistle. And away they all flew like the down on a thistle. But I heard him exclaim as he drove out of sight, "Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night." And that is the poem, "Twas the Night Before Christmas," 197 years old. That's pretty amazing. What I think is more amazing is that it's become a tradition for many people, many households. So what I would like for you to do today, I'm going to put a copy of the poem online if you want to look at it, the words, and maybe we can talk a little bit about what some of the words mean, because it is quite an old poem. Some of the wording might not be something you're familiar with, like when he talks about coursers. What is a courser? Mom and her kerchief. What is a kerchief? So some of these things that he talks about in his poem are things we don't, words that are, and things we don't really do anymore. So we can find out what some of those words mean and understand the poem just a little bit better. But I want you to think about holiday traditions, and you can tell me about a tradition that you do with your family each year. How is it that you celebrate the holidays? Now, remember, a tradition is something that you do, you try to do every year. It could be something small, like, wearing new Christmas pajamas, or I know with my grandma, we made our cookies every Christmas Eve and go to church, of course, on Christmas Day. So what is something that is a tradition in your home? Now, I'd love to hear some really interesting things and different cultures, because I really have found it fascinating learning about the different holidays around the world, Las Posadas and late St. Lucia Day. I want to hear about some of the traditional dishes, things that you eat over the holidays. Not everybody eats turkey. What is something traditional that you and your family eat? I know at my house, a new tradition that I started with my family, my husband and son, is on Christmas Eve, we have spaghetti. I don't know why that started, but for years now, our big meal on Christmas Eve is spaghetti. So if you come to my house on Christmas Eve, you are eating spaghetti. It's just a tradition that we've started just with my family, and it's something that we look forward to. I know my son has already talked about, "Have you made the spaghetti sauce yet, Mom, for Christmas Eve?" I haven't yet, but I will. But I did want to share with you one of the traditions that I've had in my family for years, and that's sharing the now almost 200-year-old poem called "Twas the Night Before Christmas." Always gets me in a good holiday spirit. So I hope that you guys have a wonderful holiday. I hope that you are able to see family and friends and get together, because that's really what holidays are about. And you celebrate your traditions with your family and friends. And I hope to see you guys in 2021, whether it's here at school or again online. And I'm sure 2021 is going to be the best year ever. I will post some things online for you to do. Now I've posted the holiday choice board. I'm going to post our Destiny page, to where it's got all of the choice boards that I have made, the makerspace, and I've got a couple more that I have up there about learning how to code, and also our holiday choice boards. So look for your activity. We're just going to have a fun activity. But if you would like to share with me some of the traditions that you share with your family, I would love to hear some of the ways that you celebrate the holidays with your family, or some of the special things that you do. I hope you guys have a great holiday. Stay safe, and I will see you in 2021. Bye. Happy holidays.